A boss mom doesn't allow society to tell her that her goals no longer matter. She handles her business both inside and outside of the home. Welcome to the Boss Mom Movement Podcast with me, your host, Ashley White, where you'll hear me speak with millennial moms who have not allowed the title mom to stop them from achieving their goals. During this podcast series, we'll discuss how we balance it all and other mom-related topics. It's a space for all my bossy mamas, whether you're a Momtrepreneur, mama in corporate, or both. Being a boss mom isn't easy, but it's our lifestyle. So with that being said, all right, boss moms, let the movement begin. Hey y'all, before we jump into this episode, I wanted to come talk to you about starting your own podcast show. Have you ever thought of maybe just telling your story, interviewing people, or simply sharing tips and tricks about something that you're passionate about? Podcasting might be the right avenue for you. It's so simple to start your show. I always tell people you don't have to do it big. All you need is a quiet space. Even a great set of headphones can get you started on the right path. But in addition to that, you also need a good platform to upload your show. Well, let me tell you about Buzzsprout. Buzzsprout is one of the easiest ways for you to launch and promote your podcast show. That's what I use to make sure that everyone around the world can hear the Boss Mom Movement podcast episodes. It distributes to all major podcast platforms like Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and so many more. Simply a click of a button does the trick. So, in the show notes, I have listed a link for all of my people that are ready to get out there and get on this podcast train. It is going to be an amazing experience for you if you've never done podcasting before, because it is so easy. I loved it. So I wanted to share this opportunity with you because they have helped not only the Boss Mom movement, but hundreds and thousands of other podcasters get their show to the right places. So like I said, check out those show notes, let them know that Ashley from the Boss Mom sent you, and let's start that free trial. All right, thanks for listening. Now let's jump into this episode. Hey Boss Moms, welcome back for another Boss Mom Movement season. You are now here for season 5. I am excited to be here with you all again. I know I took some time off just to kind of regroup, do some family things, self-care things, but I'm excited to be back in the studio and with a whole new set of moms for you all to hear from. So we're going to get this season started off with It just messed up. And I thought I lost you.
Do that. We gotta keep it. No, you gotta
You're right. Because I can edit that out. I can edit that.
No,
like it froze. So I was like, oh shoot, I done lost her.
No, let's do this. Let's just, because the podcast is really like the deep down nitty gritty life, right? This is real life, right? These are some things that happen, right? You are totally human. There's nothing wrong with that. I think that let's scratch perfection, y'all. We're going to scratch perfection for this episode. Hold on. So my name is Marquitta Johnson, business and business growth strategist. I like to think of myself as an innovative growth strategist for mompreneurs. I specifically like to focus on moms. One of the reasons for that is because, to be honest, in a lot of what I was doing as an entrepreneur, kind of just dealt around the ability to balance being an entrepreneur and a mom. And so I think that once I kind of stepped over into the coaching world with being an entrepreneur, with being a mentor, I felt like moms were just it. I found a deep passion for our community, and I think that it's just a soft spot there. But I think one of the problems that I was having as an entrepreneur was the ability to find a strategy that just kind of pretty much just worked for me. I was going into coaching programs. I was going into mentorships. And number one, I didn't have a vision of who I was and what I wanted to do and what I was aspiring to be. I had a vision, but I wasn't just clear on it. And a lot of times we get into a lot of programs, and what we will find to be is if you're not strong or rooted in who you're trying to become, the world to kind of shift and shape you into just kind of whatever we think is popping or whatever we think looks good for us to make money. And I think that I was kind of guilty of that, just trying to identify, ways to make money. And so once I kind of developed the program of just being a business strategist and identifying the needs, right, I kind of built the program to be the antidote to my own success. So I needed a lot of strategy. It was a lot of figuring out. It was a lot of strategic planning. I mean, my corporate experience had a lot to do with that. And I'll let you kind of talk to me about that a little bit later if you have more questions. But I did have a corporate background in process improvement and performance management, as well as consulting. And basically when my job fired me, right? Let's talk about the job firing me in the middle of the pandemic. From there, I just kind of sat down and I said, you know what, Marquitta, you got this great boutique going on. But at the end of it all, I was still at home with them 3 kids trying to figure out ways to stay, not always overworked, And so that's who I am. And I'll let you get into the podcast a little bit.
No, listen, I appreciate the introduction because clearly I cannot introduce my own guest today. I'm having difficulties on my side, but like you said, perfection, it doesn't even exist. So mistakes happen. And that's okay. We're going to roll with the punches, but I appreciate you going into that deep dive because I didn't know you had a corporate background. And I was going to ask you what got you into entrepreneurship because you're a mentor, you're a coach. Like you said, I know you have your own podcast. So let's talk about it. Were you doing your your entrepreneurial jobs while you were in corporate, or was that something? I know you said you were let go during the pandemic, which I understand how that is because I was too. So were they side hustles, or did you just start from the ground running once you left corporate?
No, that's really a great question. And I think that when you ask that question, to be honest, it really opens up an even larger can of worms. But I'll try to just keep it really simple and simplistic. My mother had me when she was 15. And by the time she had me, I was her second child. We grew up in the South Side of Robert Taylor projects in Chicago, right? And growing up, I always saw my mother hustle. I saw her just try to build a better life for herself. I was kicked out, and I want to say kicked out, but I did not finish high school. I dropped out of high school sophomore year, not by choice. And then I was forced to get a GED in North Texas Job Corps. Which is in McKinney, Texas. So you're thinking about a girl coming from Chicago, going all the way down to Texas in the middle of her high school year. It was devastating, right? But again, I'm from Chicago, and all we know around there is just pretty much hustle. As a teen mom, which is what I became at the age of 19 after getting my GED, I kind of went into work each day. I just, it's so much to talk about there because although my parents were there, my mom and I, we had this interesting relationships. I think that's an even larger issue that goes on in the Black and African American communities, with mothers and daughters. But my mother was definitely still there. Needless to say, I was a teen mom. And I was very responsible. My father was there too. I had really good parents, but they were teen parents. So I was like their guinea pig, right? So I don't want to take anything away from them, but I want to be realistic in my response. And so I did not have anybody really showing me I felt like my dream was stripped away from me. I was a girl that aspired to want to go to Spelman. I didn't know what I was going to be doing in Spelman. But I wanted to, now that I think about it, but I wanted to, I was that girl in school, very athletic, very involved. And then to have my high school life just kind of stripped away from me. It was like a 16-year-old girl trying to figure out what's next. And then as a teen mom, living on my own, I was trying to figure out how I was going to be cute and also how I was going to still make sure the bills were paid because I didn't have anybody else that I could depend on. I was living on my own at 17 years old. And so to be a teenage mom at this time, it was I don't know if anybody's listening to this, but it was literally one time I was literally at the cash register trying to get something to look cute just to go hang out with my friends. I wasn't doing nothing extra. And it was if I spent this money on this one little outfit that was just going to make me feel so happy, then I have to sacrifice an eviction letter on my door, or I have to sacrifice my water possibly getting cut off. And so I started looking at life like, this just can't be it. Like, I done worked all these hours, you know, I can't just keep on waking up. And so I had no clue of what an entrepreneur was. But what I did know is I had to figure out a plan, right? And that part of that plan was, I was like, well, maybe if I just open up a shoe boutique, you know, or maybe if I just get the clothes, sell them wholesale, I'll have something to wear. Like, that was literally my thought. I remember going to work, you know, I was always in school and trying to get my degree, because I felt like, again, my life was just kind of robbed and stripped from me. So I was always trying to prove to myself that I was trying to get back on the track that I visioned for myself. But at the same time, I could just remember just getting going to work and having holes in my clothes, like my socks, my stockings, the things people couldn't see, like that was underneath it. And so I would remix my clothes, because I just was always trying to figure out, like, okay, well, you know, once I get paid, I'll get a little bit, you know, I'll buy myself a pair of shoes. And so literally, I just got to the point to where I was like, you know what, I'm going to figure this out. And so I began to open up. Instagram was going on during the time. This was 2014. And lo and behold, I didn't know nothing about a website. I didn't know nothing about no social media marketing. I just had this vision and this like eureka moment that if I really can get these clothes and sell the clothes, not only will I have money, but I also be cute in the process. And girl, if I tell you, I must have found Alibaba. And what was the other site called?
AliExpress.
How I found AliExpress, and I didn't even know what I was selling, the niche market. I didn't even have, all I knew was I needed to get on Instagram. And so I went on AliExpress, and I was selling swimsuits, because the first thing I ever sold was a swimsuit. And it was really a horrible process. Like it was awful, to be quite honest. But I learned from there and I grew. So I was always an entrepreneur since I was probably, I would say 21. And then from there, I've balanced being an entrepreneur, getting my degree, being a mom. I think at one point I was an intern, getting a degree in school and being a mom. So I've always been balancing. Juggling is what I like to call all three. And again, that kind of draws me back to my antidote to success, which is the strategy, like what needs to happen.
So I want to go back a little bit, because you mentioned in the beginning just about your journey, dropped out of high school, got your GED, and then you went back and got your degree. What'd you get your degree in?
So I got my degree in health administration management. So I think, like, my grandmother was a nurse and I wanted to be a nurse. But, you know, nursing, once you get there, I think I missed the nursing exam by like 1 point. And I didn't have anybody to push me to say, you know what, you really need to just go ahead and go and do it. On the short end of the stick, I was getting just that was nobody really supporting me. I didn't see anybody doing it. Nobody went to college. And so when I got my nursing degree, I was already working in the field of healthcare. And so I said, okay, well, let me just kind of stay in healthcare. I don't have to have a nursing degree, because I saw a lot of things that were administrative that were done behind the scene that I was like, you know what, well, let me just kind of stay in here and do just kind of what I'm doing. So it was health administration management is what the degree is in.
Okay. So you're doing that, and you have your boutique going. So, and being a mom, which we know is a full-time job in itself. So how did you find, I know you said not a lot of people around you to like keep you encouraged and stuff, but how did you keep yourself encouraged? Because I think that's really important for us boss moms who are juggling working or entrepreneurial life and motherhood, is to remain motivated, you know, in what we're doing to even keep going. So how did you find that motivation?
Prayer, to be honest. I was very close to my grandmother growing up, and my mother always taught me how to pray as well. I think that because I did have the role that's taken a lot of times, all I had was prayer. Late at night when nobody was looking, or if I had anybody to call on, I always had my journal. I always had a Bible, and I found comfort and peace in just finding just knowing that, you know, he is a way maker. It was really hard a lot of times, but if I had to just pinpoint one thing, it was the ability to pray through the process. And then, you know, prayer gives us a lot of revelation and it reveals a lot of things to us. So like every time I was trying to figure something out, I would just pray about it, and then different things would be revealed to me. You know, if I was dreaming, things would be revealed. If I was just talking or in the shower. And then also my son, you know, at the time, I have 3 sons now, but at the time, my son was really a big motivating factor for me, because I didn't really understand what it meant to be a mother, if I could just really be honest, but I knew what it meant to be responsible and to have somebody dependent on me. And then the third thing I would say that just kind of kept me motivated was the ability to, I just have this, it's just a resilience. I just felt like so much of my life was snatched away from me that I had to figure out ways how to control what was happening to me, you know, and I couldn't control being pulled out of high school. I couldn't control not graduating or ever going to prom. But the things that I could control, that's kind of what I wanted to just say, okay, this is where I'm going to take control of in my life. So identifying what really this means to me as an entrepreneur, you know, and I think that's why it's so important as an entrepreneur when people talk about connecting their why or connecting that emotional response. Why it's so important, because it's days like this, you know, that allowed me to keep going, and it was allowing me to stay focused on days where I really wanted to give up. But because that fight of, I know who God has called me to be, I know who, you know, is dependent on this, like my strength is, I know where my real help come from. I remember I was talking to my group the other day. I put a post, and I'll share this post with you too, Ashley, just so that you can have it if you haven't seen it. But it's a poem called God is My Real Boss. You know, I used to go into the office space. Yeah, girl, it's so good. I'm gonna send it to you. Maybe you can also link it in the notes for your listeners. But absolutely, those gentle reminders really helped me. Like, this is really just where I am. It's just a process, like a transitioning period. Like, this is not the end. So just keeping a vision of where I'm going was really important.
I agree, because it is easy to lose sight of, you know, your vision and your goals. Like, that's why I'm heavy on writing things down and saying them out loud, because I do believe the tongue is a powerful thing. And just trying to continue to speak positivity as far as the things that I want to do in life and where I, you know, see myself. So you mentioned that when you started your boutique, there were some difficulties in the beginning, or a nightmare working with Express Alibaba. So let's talk about those things, because I know it's a lot of moms listening that, you know, might be going through that and need to overcome. So what were some of the things that you ran into?
Wow. I was really just horrible. So the first of all, let's talk about the swimsuit process, right? So I had all these pictures, didn't know how to price, but Lord and behold, some crazy person came to my website and they bought something. I didn't even know how to, I didn't even test the product, Ashley. That's literally how this thing was going. So I get an order on my website and I'm like, ooh, you know, what's next? Like, literally, that's kind of how House of Divas was built. It was, everything was, as things happened, I learned. I literally, you know how people say you learn through the process? No, I for real learned through the process. So I had no inventory. I didn't even order anything off of AliExpress for myself to even test it. So I didn't know the shipping process. So lo and behold, this girl orders this swimsuit. I go to AliExpress, I underpriced the swimsuit. So now I'm coming out of my pocket, right, just to make sure that I can still get her this swimsuit, because I am in no way refunding her this money for this swimsuit. This is just what I'm thinking, okay? So then I get the swimsuit. So then I ordered this swimsuit. The swimsuit took over a month to get to me, because I was trying to find the cheapest way possible to ship the swimsuit, right? Because they have other quicker transportation options. But because I didn't price appropriately, I didn't price the profit. I was trying to figure out like, how do I the least, like what's the most cost effective way to do this? So that was a whole nightmare. And then when I got it, and then customer service too, like a lot of things that I did with having a corporate background was I started in customer service. So I was really good at customer service. So I knew how to talk to people. I knew how to keep lines of communication as open. Like a lot of times your customer don't really care that you screwed up, but if you can communicate what's going on with them, they'll stick beside you. Like, so a lot of people, like this lady, she stuck beside me. And so she got the swimsuit probably after a month. So then I was like, you know what? I don't like this process. I don't like the fact that I got to wait on y'all to ship me my stuff, AliExpress. Okay, let me start looking at some of the pieces and then let me start ordering, like pre-ordering, right? And so I did a thing of a mixture of crowdsourcing, and people who are in the boutique world. Back then, crowdsourcing is just pretty much, I will put a picture on social media and I would say, would you wear this? I actually got this from another boutique that was out at the time, and she would do this. But looking back, it was called crowdsourcing. And she would say things like, would you wear this, right? This is where you're just surveying your audience, and you want to make sure, I want to make sure my phone's not that, but you survey your audience to kind of get an idea of what they would actually wear. Like, so if I buy this, I don't want to waste my money, right? So you see boutiques doing pre-orders, or you see them doing crowdsourcing. And I would say small, medium, large. And then this is also the price. So then that was a way, so I was learning from other people. There's a quote that's out there that says, everybody is my teacher. Some people will never know that you're watching or learning from them. But if you find something that somebody's doing, a benchmark of something that somebody's doing well, you can take that and make it your own. It's not copycatting, right? So I did that. So I started getting inventory on hand, and then little by little, I started getting that one box of inventory. That's your 2 smalls, your 2 mediums, your 2 large. Anybody that knows or is starting off in the boutique world, that one box is golden, and then you start moving up to, 2 and 3 boxes. It was to the point to whereas people knew about my boutique so much so because my friends, like, let's talk about it. Like my customers, my target market was my friends, and I had some cute friends, right? And so I I knew nothing about marketing, but we were in the clubs. That's where my customers were at. So we would go to the clubs. And I would be looking around, like, how you do your walkthrough with your girls and you looking at everything and stuff that people got going on. I would just look at everything. I would look at what people had on. Oh, I saw that on this website. And so I learned to get better vendors. I learned to just kind of identify what the need was. I learned how to market. I was selling clothes in the club out of the bathroom, like literally I didn't have the clothes in there, but my friends were my models, so like my first boutique was my closet. Like, girl, I really got like a real whole
talk about the hustle.
The hustle. Yeah, it's a real life hustle. And so I have a book called Secrets of a House of Divas, and it's 10 success secrets that never go out of style. And it really just goes deep into like how I really was just everything I learned. I didn't know that these were marketing tactics or success secrets. But yeah, girl, so I would be in the bathroom and my friends, they would be my models. I would sell out of stuff that would be on my website just by being like the walking billboard. And so not only that, I also would have, I remember like trying to hurry up and get way across Houston with a box of clothes in my car, because UPS will drop your clothes out. I lived in some apartments, girl, they will take that. So I had to hurry up, go home, grab my clothes, but I would let people know I just got a shipment in, y'all. Girl, I would be at the back of the classroom. Before class would be over with, I would be showing them the picture. They would be at my trunk buying the clothes up out of my car. So listen, we could talk forever with just really how the boutique was made, but it was really a process. Like, it was everything that I learned was built like literally piece by piece, and I just continued to perfect the process.
That's good though. Like, I feel like one of the best teachers is experience, right? Like just going through the motions and figuring out, what works, what doesn't work, because everything that works for other people may not work for you. So you were just, going through finding, how like you said, your processes were going to go. And it's a learning curve, especially when you've never been in something before, but I like how you still had the drive. And one thing that I wanted to point out that you mentioned was that you were your walking billboard, like you were promoting your brand heavy, and that's so important. And like, even though you did have your friends there, it was like at the end of the day, like, you still bet it on yourself. Like, because even if your friends were to tell you today, like, girl, I can't do this no more, like, you were still like doing your thing. And I admire that, like, because that's something that's hard for me to self-promote as an entrepreneur, which is crazy to say, but it's like I tense up, just trying to market myself. And so I really, just commend you for really doing that.
Well, yeah, and then like my book, another reason it's called 10 Success Secrets That Never Go Out of Style is because people resonate with you. And it was some things that like my friends did have on that may not have sold as well. But if I was to put it on, it's gone. And so like, it's so many lessons to be learned in just having our own unique, authentic style. The way you do something is the way you do it. And that's what's going to allow people to really resonate with you. And we'd be so afraid to show up. Like, I was in Houston, actually, but I will say I didn't feel like I fit in down there. Like, I was totally different, right? Because I was a Midwest girl now living in the South. And I just, they had their own way. They didn't wear their real hair down there in the South. Everybody was wearing weaves. I was like, we wear our real hair in Chicago. Like, nothing against any of those, but I always had my unique style. So they were always kind of looking like, it wasn't nothing negative they could say, but it was just kind of like a,
Yeah.
So I always felt like this outcast. And so a lot of people that would shop with me would always say they liked my style, and so I think that that's kind of equally important to any entrepreneur. It's just having your own unique voice, having your own unique tone and your own brand. It really is. People buy into people before they buy into brands. And so I think I didn't know it then, but that's really what it was.
And I'm definitely learning that as well now, especially like just trying to build up my Instagram and sharing more about me as a person, especially being I have a podcast and I'm talking. So it's like, okay, you might as well talk about yourself and, show, just being relatable to your audience. So you have your 9-to-5, you have your boutique. So it started off online and you ended up opening a storefront. How long did it take you to open up your storefront?
So it started off online and then I moved back to Chicago. So it took me 9 years before I got a storefront. Okay. I had like a storage for a long time that I was working out of, but then people just kept saying I wanted to offer them something more than just an online experience. Like I used to do a little bit of styling and I wanted people to like the demand for people to actually come by and pick up things kind of grew rapidly, especially when I moved back to Chicago, because that's kind of like where a lot of my customers were. And there was a need. So out of me being in business 2014, I think 2019 is when I opened up the showroom.
Okay. And how long did it stay open?
I signed a 2-year lease. So it was open. The showroom was open for 2 years. Now I do got some things in the works going on with the boutique. So I can't give it all the way just yet. Okay. But I will say, in me most recently closing the showroom, like I knew when I wanted to sign in the lease that 2 years is the max there. I knew I was going to be transitioning. So I'll be moving back to the South pretty soon. So I'm in a transition period. And I think a part of where I was with getting fired, and I know we'll talk about that soon, but I lost a lot of love and passion and vision for the boutique when I got pregnant with my third son. It was like, Lord, you didn't gave me the keys to this showroom. You done had me make multiple 6 figures this year. You got me coaching these other folks on how to open a boutique business. I am making the money, but I do not have the drive. And my business started scaling so quickly that it started crashing. I knew how to make money as a boutique owner. I knew how to talk to my target audience. I was now building a team. So this is a whole nother step of entrepreneurship that I'm talking about. I didn't know how to put people on payroll. I didn't know how to just really take myself out of being a solopreneur and now being a real boss, like a real corporatepreneur. So it was a lot of moving parts in my life, as well as I'm pregnant, you know.
Right.
And I did not want to be pregnant, child, for my life depended on it. I did not want to be. It was definitely unexpected pregnancy. I love my son, Legend, now. My husband and I had planned to have more children, you know, because I have 3 boys, so we were planning on having a girl. Well, Lord said different. And you know, when
boy mom,
yeah, well, you know, when I found out it was a boy, I was like, "And you giving me another boy?" Like, God,
right.
I had some real words with the Lord. I was like, God, like, what do
you have for me?
Yes, like, what is this? Like, and realistically, that's really how Mommy Making Millions was birthed. I was like, God, you have got to be kidding me. Like, I'm down to nothing. Like, my book, I was in the middle of writing, like, my book being released. I'm at the photo shoot, sucking it in, because it was just like, I didn't want to feel weak in the process. And I don't know why I associated motherhood and entrepreneurship with being weak. You know, like, who said I couldn't just really be this boss mom? Hello.
Right.
And really just go after, like, my vision, the way God showed it to me, not diluted, not other people's inflicting their beliefs of what they can't do. Just really, Lord, what you showed me, why can't I just be that bossed up version of me? Like, why can't I? Because I'm not seeing other people do it. And I was really confused. So I was like, you know, this is some real shiggity, Lord. I don't understand this.
But, you know, God has a funny way of showing us, you know, what's supposed to be for us, you know, and it's like we can fight him back and forth, like, about where we're supposed to be and when we're supposed to be there. And he's just like, look, I put this on your plate because I know what you can handle. And you just, like you just said, you had so much going on at one time. So you said you birthed your newest baby, Mommy's Making Millions. And then you were stepping away from the boutique. And at this time, around that time too, you were being let go. And so it was just a lot. And the pregnancy, a lot of things going on, but you still made it through. You know, you said talking to God and just figuring it out.
Yeah.
So and as they could see the title, Knowing When to Let Go, I wanted to talk to a little bit about just being an entrepreneur and knowing when, you know, to let go of certain things, whether it is that business venture and starting something else, or pausing, like you said, you have some things in the works for the boutique, you know, but let's talk about, like, how you came to that point and really just saying it's time to close this door right now.
So I kept fighting with, I just didn't have I think depression set in, and I think, like, for me, my functioning while being depressed doesn't look like anyone else's. I just kind of hyper focus on other things as an entrepreneur, and I'm very goal oriented. So I started really focusing on things like Mommy Making Millions, and I would just sit the boutique there. When I would walk into my showroom, because I had an assistant that was amazing, she would go in there and she would just completely do her job. Like, it was nothing that she needed me to tell her to do, but I wasn't doing my part as a boss. And I had to figure out what was going on, because when I walked into my showroom, I would go in there and I would worship, and it was a very calm space. But it wasn't my safe space anymore. And so I wrestled with transition, right? So, like, when God was sitting there telling me, like, what the next phase was in my life, I was fighting with the vision, because I didn't see what God saw for me. I was looking at my own plans, and I think the Bible verse, I always talk about, like, y'all, I think, like, the Lord is trying to be funny and turn me into some type of minister or something, because every time I think about something, I be quoting a dang on Bible verse, but it's so true because it says, I know the plans I have for you, says the Lord, you know. And when it came time to really think about like what was the purpose or what was the goal or what was the new vision for House of Divas, I couldn't see it. Everything was foggy. I was praying that God, you know, still allowed me to, you know, be successful. And I would still get money. People were still coming to shop, but I wasn't bringing in new inventory. And then I just kind of realized that there just really wasn't a passion for there anymore. So I wrestled with it for a long time. Then I felt like I was a failure, right? How am I going to show people I'm building up this new community when I'm feeling like my boutique business has crashed? And so I had to just really be in a place of transparency, full transparency. I had to humble myself and just say, you know what, because this vision that I started having for my showroom became bigger. Like the vision with Mommy Making Millions was bigger. The vision for House of Divas became bigger. And what was happening was God was doing things that was shutting me down in certain areas. It's like he gonna get your attention one of these ways. It's just up to us to start really paying attention to it. And so I just allowed the process to process. So I kept praying on it. And my community was very supportive in allowing me to have that transparency. So like even communities like the Boss Mom movement is important because it allows us to be imperfect, excuse me. And imperfection is beauty. And that's why I said that at the beginning of the podcast. No, you know, like this is what really happens, you know. And so I didn't feel attached to tangible things that were that I could rebuild, you know, better, bigger. I didn't own that building. You know, maybe my next showroom that I walk into is going to be bigger. It's going to be better and I'll own it, you know. And so that's kind of the vision I started looking at. I started just allowing God's will for the plan to just kind of manifest instead of me fighting up against it. It was stuff was happening and it was just like, okay, God, you just do what you gonna do at this point.
Right. No, I like that. And then like at the same time, the corporate job, were those like around the same time getting let go? So let's talk about that too, because I just feel like you said, it's good for us to be transparent and talk about, you know, the not so happy times. And so how was that experience? Was it a let go because of COVID? As you mentioned, it was during the pandemic, right?
Yeah. So girl, let me tell you about this job. Okay. I had quit being in corporate twice before I became an entrepreneur, like a full-time entrepreneur. And remember, I had to keep figuring it out. The first time I quit, I have a husband now, right? So my husband, before, you know, I just jumped ship with my job. I remember sitting at my desk one day and I was like, this job is draining. I can't, like, I make more in my boutique than I do sitting at looking at this computer on this wall. So I just jumped ship and quit my job. Don't do that, y'all. Just don't do that. Like, yeah, we out here on faith and we just faith in it. Have a strategy, you know, like just don't necessarily do what I did because I had to learn you don't want to stop a form of cash flow in your process. So I was funding my boutique business off of my income tax during this time and off of my paycheck. So I always said my job was my side hustle because it was funding like my real dream. So that's over the years kind of how like the boutique business kind of started getting built. So if you can imagine, I didn't quit this job and I didn't stop the stream of cash flow. I even put myself on payroll. Hello. I made some real crazy mistakes. But and so what I did was I had to smarten up, right? I finally got the degree. So now I felt like I had leverage in the marketplace in the corporate world. I had the experience and I had the degree because being an African-American girl, you see how young I look, first of all. Like, so, and I mean, I'm 34 at this age, right? So you think 10 years ago, I probably was looking, then nobody took me serious in corporate and then I was very like, you know, a mousy girl, you know. But I knew my stuff. So I'm trying to build this journey with you so you can kind of see. So I ended up feeling like, okay, I got some skin in the game. I'm going back into corporate. You know how you apply for them jobs and you look to see the qualifications. Bam, bachelor's degree. I got that this time. I'm applying for this, right? That's just really like how I was hyping myself up. Like, okay, I can apply for this. Like, I'm not at the bottom of the top totem pole no more. Like, this is it. I qualify for this. And so I got the job at the American Medical Association. I loved it. I mean, they were paying me like $60,000 a year. I felt like this was the best job ever. And they were really good people. Before I went back into corporate, I knew that that was not long-term for me. In fact, I knew that the job that I had to interview for had to just really align with who I was, right? And they had to be paying me. And when I went back into corporate, my goal was to still push my boutique. I got lazy. Fast forward, the pandemic happens. I'm at home where everybody's at home. My 9-year-old is sitting at the desk on one side of my desk in virtual class. I got my feet up. I'm 9 months pregnant. I dropped down to part-time because the people was really just getting all the way on my nerves. I'm too scared to let the job go because I just feel like I got one foot in entrepreneurship. I don't want to make the same mistake like I did last time I quit. And I got this showroom and I'm kind of like, what are we going to do with this showroom? So, after Legend was, so I went on leave. After Legend was born, I think, well, for sure, the company that I worked for, they were not bringing in new business. And I was like the youngest and highest paid senior consultant that was there. So, they knew. But they offered me another role. Right? They offered me another role and the role was customer service. I was like, how y'all gonna send me back to customer? Like, wait a minute, what's going on? I had like $60,000 worth of student loans. You talking about some back to the drawing and I got to come in to sit in the office and be on the phones. This not gonna work because I'm rocking my baby right here, breastfeeding him. Like the job I had was smooth. I got up at 5 a.m. Usually Legend didn't wake up till like 9 and I'm done by 1 o'clock. It was a really smooth job, but it took a lot of mental out of me. And so long story short, they offered me another job and I declined it, but they were eliminating my position. So they gave me the severance pay. I still had the showroom. I still was not on payroll. I still was trying to figure a lot of stuff out, but to really sum all of that up, they were eliminating. And when they gave me I've never been like let go from a job. So this was kind of like interesting. It was the nicest. It was like I was wrestling in my spirit, like probably 2 weeks before that. I had just told someone there, I don't feel like I'm adding value and there's no purpose for me there. And when they talked to me, I was just kind of like, I smiled. She was like, this is like the easiest separation ever, and I felt like the bait for me not trusting God was if I had went backwards and said, I'll take the customer service role. It's not anything against people that do customer service, but I think that was the bait for me to say, are you going to trust him? You know what you've been wrestling with in your spirit. The goal when you got this job wasn't to keep it anyway. Like, I'm just not meant to really work a 9 to 5. I'm just not. Entrepreneurship,
no, and that's I don't know, it's just a funny story because you were already there, mentally of leaving, and it just so happened that instead of you taking it, because you said you had already been to that point where you left a job before, right? And so this time God had to show you in a different way, okay, the job is going to let you go because you won't leave, right now. Like I'm telling you.
That's a whole nother.
And like and then 2 weeks before it even happens, like you were already going back and forth, like, this is probably not even where I need to be right now, and so he had to really put that in play for you at that moment so that you could really walk into, your journey where you were supposed to be. So it's like you were knowing when to let go of two situations, essentially, right? And now you have something probably bigger in the works for the boutique. You have, you know, Mommy's Making Million. And I want to talk about that too, because that's your coaching business, right?
Yep. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, so it's just like things were, you know, folding into the right places at the right time for you. And so how long had you been doing coaching, or had you started at that point?
So I was doing boutique coaching. I used to do like the boutique 6-figure launch. I was doing build your 6-figure brand. I was doing a lot of that. And then I was doing a lot of business coaching on the back end. But because I didn't know what type of coach I wanted to be, I was just coaching anybody, right? And so when I built Mommy Making Millions, I had to really sit down, because my husband used to always say, like, you can use it for the living room and you can do this and we can build out this. And I was like, no, I don't want to use any of this, like, bigger. Like, start where you are, girl. So I was building out my coaching program, but it was in the areas of boutique, but I didn't feel like that was it. I felt like it wasn't really emotional. Like, and then I kind of got bored with it. So like with Mommy Making Millions, I had to sit down and I looked at my resume. People were not hiring me, Ashley. Like, I don't know what it was. It was like God was just like,
you
okay,
weren't supposed to be there.
You're going to keep applying for the jobs you know you don't want, denied. Sorry, we can't. Like, jobs I know that I was really qualified for and I knew that I could do. It was just like, you know what, God, okay, I'm going to keep on.
Did you feel like you needed that job security? Is that why you were applying?
I was afraid. Fear. Yeah, I was really feeling like, because I dropped down to half-time, like part-time at the job. The checks that I was getting, girl, I didn't need them people. Like, I was just scared. I was just not knowing when to let go.
Yeah.
Didn't know when to let go. You know, God was like, okay, I'm going to just kick you out there. And I'm going to keep on telling you this is not the way to go until you trust me, right? And so I kept applying for these jobs, and I was just like looking over my resume. And the more authentic I became and transparent in my mompreneurship journey, with still having the boutique, with still having to show up, so many other boutique owners who were moms. You think about it, we were in the middle of the pandemic. All the boutique moms was getting pregnant.
Right.
Everybody was pregnant.
Like, everybody was getting pregnant.
And I'm
like, what is
laughing.
this?
Yeah, I was happy and laughing at the same time, because I'm like, okay, well, you know, I ain't the only boutique owner, but I was scared to show my journey, you know. So I started sharing a little bit, and I started thinking about everything that I was dealing with. I was struggling with balancing. I was struggling with strategy. I was struggling with execution. And I thought about my goals in corporate. And when I worked as a consultant, what was it about the jobs that I liked, and what did I do? I was aligning people's vision, missions, and values for Fortune 100 companies, you know. And if I'm good enough to do it for Fortune 100, we'll say Fortune 500 companies, I'm good enough to do that for myself. Like, I was like right under these C-suite executives. So I started looking at everything that I was doing wrong, right? Even the coaching that I had done, what was good about it, what wasn't good about it. So I built really, like, I identified what my need was, my own problem. A lot of times the businesses that we built, they're because we're solving a lot of our own problems first. I didn't understand how to balance having a full-time job or a career as a mom, as well as be a new mom all over again. My kids are 15, 9, and 15 months. It was like, what am I doing with this little baby? Like, you know, so I'm used to doing what I'm used to doing. But my son, you know, House of Divas was built. My son was already born. You know, I was already in the mix with House of Divas when my middle son was born. And then when I'm in the process of scaling, then I have a new baby. It was a totally different ball game. So I sat there and I thought about what was working, what wasn't working. And I started building out the framework for my own success. And so I used it, like how to balance, you know, like that's why I teach balance strategies. I don't just teach a strategy. I like to say that they're balanced strategies, because as moms, we need that. We need to identify a strategy that really works for us. A lot of people say mom work-life balance. There is really like no real thing. Our lives look so different. Like what works for me might not work for you, but I can teach you how to create your own framework so that you can get more done, so that you can thrive being an entrepreneur, so that you can execute on all of your goals, being a mom, being an entrepreneur, having time for your spouse, and doing the things that you love. I'm helping you to create ways to maximize your time. A lot of us as moms, we're broke in the process right now. We pre-rich. Let's back that up. We pre-rich right now. But what do you do while you pre-rich? You don't got no income coming in. How do you still make this work? What's the strategy that really needs to be aligned to the success that I want to see? Like, I see the vision. That's why you hear me talk about vision so much, because vision is everything. And when you have vision, if you can create the strategy and align it, everything else will just happen for you. You can create the content strategy. And then there's the boundaries that you need to have in association with just knowing, like even like some of our businesses, like I was taking anybody who had a business and telling them I can coach them. That's wrong. Like that's not your customer, but having a laser focus on the mom community. So like, my mom community, they're my babies. Like this is like a sisterhood. Like I tell them all the time, like I created this platform. This is for us. Like then, and being able to connect with other boss moms like you, it just lets me know that I'm walking in purpose, and allowing the exposure to say, sis, you can still do this. I don't care where you at. I talk to a lot of moms that are already millionaires on the Mommy Make a Million podcast. And you know what? I have to kind of scale us back down, because I'm like, okay, y'all are where we're aspiring to be, so y'all delegating tasks. But I want to talk to the moms that's sitting there rocking her kid on her lap while she's still taking customer service phone calls at home, and she's trying to build her business as soon as she go on her break. Like that's who I deal with on a day-to-day basis. So it's just a different grind, girl. I think this podcast, I needed to this was therapy.
It's like that sometimes though, because I definitely, feel the same way, because I am that mom that is still juggling the 9-to-5, have side businesses, and really trying to figure out, strategize how I can eventually move out of the 9-to-5, because right now, like you said before, it's funding those other things. And, I like my job, it's cool. It's a new job. I got it when I was, right before I gave birth, so I'm just like, okay, planting my feet here, trying to figure out how long I could be here. But it's like you said, finding that balance and that structure when you have so many things going on. But who's to say that we can't accomplish these things, and having that vision and just where we want to go. But like you said before, like it doesn't look the same for all of us, like that balance or that structure, because I just did a presentation on finding structure too. And that was one of the things I mentioned. Is just like, we all have different things going on in our life. We all have different support systems. We all have different goals. So it's going to look different, and one of the questions someone asked me about was like scheduling. How do I schedule? And I'm like, most times it's day by day, because my 9-to-5, I'm a recruiter. So that can look different from day to day. And then with my side hustles, I have a little bit more structure there and doing certain things on certain days so that I can still make time for family and self-care. And that didn't come overnight. That was me going through the motions and saying, okay, having to tell myself, girl, you're not Superwoman. Like, prioritize during certain periods in your life. And that's how I, had to find my structure. But like I said, it's like, you got to go through these things, because you learned a lot in your process of just going through things and seeing how it was going to work for you,
Yeah. Creating rhythms. I always talk to my mentees about like, we focus on structure, strategy, systems, and sustainability as a part of my framework. But also, I always like to talk about schedules, systems, routines, and cycles. Like, I think as a mom, those are four things that we need to just kind of live by. Like you said, these are some things I know what the structure is, and just creating that pattern so that you can increase the productivity that's going to be needed for you to produce and bring in those streams of revenue. And then also aligning, like you said, just a balance to it, right? Knowing when to cut off, this is what needs to happen on this day, that's going to really help to drive your productivity in a lot of ways. And it's going to help you to feel less burned out, and less feeling like I'm just overwhelmed. But everything that you're doing, I mean, if I could be of help in any kind of way to you or any other moms, just let me know. I'm just here for it. But I definitely focus on the structure of systems, schedules, routines, cycles, time, right? And just really setting boundaries. I have like module 2 of my program. We go over boundaries hard, and the moms be like, I'm sticking to my guns. I ain't trying to hear nothing my husband's saying. Like,
it's like, important though, because that was one of my things, just, walking into motherhood, I didn't have boundaries. I'm like, whatever it goes, and I'm like, no, it's one thing you said, that burnout, it is something serious. And I was just like, even when I started my podcast, I'm like, I'll record on any day. Oh, I can, just go on with the flow. And I had to stop that. I'm like, nope, I have specific recording days because I know I need to get my videos edited and my audios edited, and it needs to be within a certain time frame. And because I was just running myself down into the ground. So like even something as simple as, saying, hey, if this is a particular day for whatever it is that you're doing, with your business, that you have to make sure like things get done on that day. Like you definitely have to, like, and even girl, I schedule family time. I'm like, family Fridays, like this is what we're going to do, because it was getting to the point where I wasn't spending that quality time because I had so much going on. So I really like how you have, what you're teaching your students and your coaching is like systems and rhythm, and really having that structure in your life, because it's so important, or you would literally be walking in circles.
Yeah.
But I appreciate you sharing your journey, just as a mom and working, both your 9-to-5 and now full-time entrepreneurial life. And I think this transparency is just so important, because a lot of us go through it, or I'm walking in a lot of those things that you talked about right now, and just trying to, one thing you said is like that passion and purpose, and just, walking in that is just so important. So I appreciate you for coming on, and I want to definitely give you the opportunity to let the listeners know how they can find you, because your coaching services could definitely be of value to a lot of moms listening. And then you're an author, so talking about where they can find your book and anything else that you want to share as well.
Most definitely. Well, thank you definitely for having me. This is definitely just amazing. I always talk about collaboration as the new currency, and just being able to build with a community that, is not about us at the end of the day. It's about somebody that's actually going to play this back. We don't never know where that person is, and what they're going through. So just being able to expose or share light on my story. I think this is probably one of the best podcasts I've done, to be honest.
Oh, thank you.
And I think that's because I think it had a lot to do with just me really allowing myself to walk in the purpose. But so what I have is, you guys can follow me at Marquitta Deshay. That's on all social media platforms, and at Mommy Making Millions. I also have a freebie, which is I think it's a 5 success secrets of millionaire mompreneurs. It's an ebook. They can go in there and download it. It kind of gives them just kind of like almost a blueprint, but it also gives 5 success secrets that I've combined from interviewing mompreneurs who are already reached their millionaire mark. Excuse me, I don't know why I can't talk today. And then I'm actually getting ready to do a motherhood mindset and money mastermind July 30th. I don't know when this podcast is actually going to air, but it is a 4-hour strategic planning workshop that is going to just really help moms not only align their vision to the strategy, but it's also going to teach those balanced strategies inside of the program that's going to help them to really thrive as a business, and just kind of identifying, what revenue goals they need to have and the mindset that they need to have to be attached to that. So a part of what we do inside of the Mommy Making Millions community is focus on mindset. I'm like, wait a minute.
That's the life we live. Listen, what you posted the other day about not hearing the noise? When you don't hear noise in the background, you know something is up. Listen, so at least you know they good.
It's so funny. But yeah, so we have the mastermind. So I would just definitely invite any mom that's really, some moms don't want to go through a full coaching program, and other moms, they may, give me 1 second. Okay, there they go. He got him. Other moms may feel like they dropped the ball with 2022. This allows you to pick the ball back up, because a lot of things that we deal with is mental, and it aligns with our mindset. So I focus on that inside of this strategic planning workshop. Listen, I just don't be trying to like toot my own horn, but don't nobody do it like me when it comes to strategy and execution. Like my certification is just really just this is the tip of the iceberg. And to be able to help another mom walk in their gift, right? Like to change lives. I've had women that just really cry because they've had the vision. It was a little foggy, and I think strategic planning, a lot of us, we don't identify the real need of strategic planning. So I have that. And then I have the Mom2Millionaire 12-week accelerator, which they can apply for as well. And I'll send you all of the links to those. And just, we also have the Mommy Making Millions free community in Facebook. On Facebook, I'm always in there messing with them, going live, talking to them. That's kind of why I was really late for this podcast, because they a little spoiled in there. And so, yeah, it's just a very authentic and transparent community. Like, I just don't want to be anything else but just who I'm called to be. And we focus on motherhood, mindset, and millions. And millions is connected to the wealth that we are trying to attain.
I love it. I love it. Yes, definitely share the links. I'll put those in the show notes for the ladies to tap into. And this is actually going to air July 11th. So it'll definitely be in enough time for them to sign up for the mastermind. And is the mastermind virtual?
I have a virtual option and in person. So it'll be in person. The women that are going to be in person, they get a little bit more of a treat, but you still have access to just everything. You'll be right there with us. You'll just be virtual. So I'll still try to find ways to spoil the people that are virtual, because listen, we are a global network, so we couldn't have left the other mommies that are not here out. So
love it. Love it. Well, I appreciate you for coming on, Marquitta. You are a business and brand strategist, mother, mentor, author, and you have dropped some gems, and just overall, your transparency is so appreciated today. So I appreciate you, and you are the first episode of season 5. So I feel like this was definitely a great introduction for what the ladies will receive this season. And, I just appreciate you. So thank you for joining us tonight for the Boss Mom Movement season 5, episode 1. So as I always tell you, ladies, to stay motivated and stay bossy. And until next time, you are here for the Boss Mom Movement podcast.
Hey ladies, if you enjoyed today's episode, do me a favor and leave a 5-star rating and review. You can find the Boss Mom Movement streaming on Apple and Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, Spotify, and YouTube. Want to keep up with the movement? Visit my website at thebossmommovement.com and subscribe. Thanks for the support, and I'll see you next time.